Last summer, I remember Paquetá to Aston Villa. I think if I didn't tweet, Paquetá was an Aston Villa player now.
Wait, say that again?
I think if I didn't tweet, Paquetá was an Aston Villa player today. Yeah.
So what happened?
Everything agreed with the player, the clubs were negotiating, was very advanced in terms of transfer fees, so everything was almost ready. And so I was waiting and waiting and waiting, like 24 hours waiting, because I didn't want to have an impact on the news. They were like, it's very sensitive, he's an important player for West Ham, so the owners could maybe decide something different if the news is coming out. Then the news comes out in England, in a soft way, like Aston Villa interested in Lucas Paquetá, and people, my sources told me, okay, now you can go. The news is already out, you can say that it's very close. I release, and after a few hours, West Ham owners, after they see the reaction from the fans in social media, they say, okay, we are not selling the player anymore. If you're doing good things in life, people will always talk, but if you go to sleep and you feel comfortable with yourself, that's the right way.
You're watching Kickin It, presented by Modelo.
Welcome to Kickin It.
Thank you.
I'm Marco Messina, and I'm here in Italy traveling for the next few weeks. I'm going to be on the Champions League show. I'm going to stay until the Milan derby.
Yep.
And I had to come and see you, the king
My
of
pleasure.
transfers, Fabrizio Romano.
Thank you.
I was looking when we met. I scrolled back to our messages, 2017, when we first started talking.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, long time. I remember very well, because I've always been a big fan of what you've been doing to push Italian football and to show people the quality of Italian football. And to be honest, maybe right now is not the best moment possible, but I think in the last couple of years, we made a lot of progress. So I'm quite happy with what we've been doing as Italian football recently, apart from the last couple of weeks. But I'm also very grateful to what you did to promote Italian football around the world, for sure.
Kicking It usually lasts a while, so I don't know if you're going to be okay away from your phone
No
for
problem.
this long.
No problem.
Are you sure?
It's okay. I'm okay.
If you get a message, you let us know.
If you wanted to do this interview in the summer, it was impossible, but now it's fine.
Okay, fair enough. You know, we know each other, but I want to go deeper on your story and really understand. And I remember the thing that stood out to me, because I think you were working with Di Marzio and Sky Italia at the moment, and every journalist was following the same route. They were all putting articles, and there was links, and you were just putting out in English. And I was like, okay, this guy gets it. He understands that we want it quickly. Was that thoughtful?
Yeah, to be honest, yes, that part, yes. I didn't expect many things of my process into the football world, football industry, but that one for me was always a priority. I remember a long time ago when I started, when I was maybe 18, 19, you remember in England it was all about tabloids and this kind of stories. It was not about quality transfer news. Now the delivery is completely different all over the world, and I think that's thanks to the Italian journalistic approach. So my point of view was, why not deliver in the same in a different language? So in English, sometime in Spanish, I think this could work. And so my approach was, let's try to make it happen in that way. And then you say something really important, links, websites, all this kind of stuff. I think that was making the process too slow for people. You can say, okay, maybe it's 1-2 clicks, but 1-2 clicks, it's a lot on daily basis, many times. And so I was like, let's do that directly on the platform. Let's do that directly on Twitter, now X, let's do that on Instagram, wherever. And that was really important for myself to start building my own approach to this world.
It's been amazing to witness that. And something I always think about, and I want to know if you think about this too, how lucky we were to be born now.
No, for
because
sure.
look at us sitting here. You know, I'm working for CBS.
Yeah.
You've had this meteoric rise, millions of followers, become basically a football celebrity. But if this was 20 years ago,
True.
we wouldn't be here.
No, this would be impossible, absolutely impossible. I always say, I have to say thanks not only to the video games, but especially to the social media. Because at the end of the day, I had the big luck of starting in traditional media with Sky, and that completely changed my life, because I still believe you need to have some kind of environment around you when you are maybe 18, 19, 20 to understand the real journalism, how it works. It didn't start on Instagram. It didn't start on Twitter. It started being in the streets every single day since I was 19 here in Milano. In the summer, it's very hot.
I remember.
I was
seeing
never
you
going around
outside of hotels.
I was never going for holidays, Ibiza, Formentera, Sardinia, nowhere. I was only staying in the streets, and it happened for 7, 8 years consecutive. In January, very cold, and in the summer, very hot, always be around, never disconnect, never stop. And so that's how we started, so the traditional part. But then the digital side has been crucial. As you say, I was never gonna build, and we were probably never gonna build what we built without social media and without this new influence, because I always say, especially in transfers, think about sending a message as a journalist to an agent, to a president, to a director, to a player 20 years ago. You send a message on their phone, and they say, why should I answer to this guy who is I don't know who is. Maybe you are the best journalist in the world, but if you are a young guy who wants to enter into journalism, who is this guy? So I'm never going to answer. Impossible. It was impossible. Now, if you have Instagram, even if you are not that big, people can see who is following you, what did you do in your life. You can present yourself as a journalist, as a person, in a better way than sending a message. So this completely changed everything in our world. And I think it was absolutely a game changer in my case, for sure.
So what did you do early on when you didn't have the followers? Was it just like guerrilla marketing, just being on the ground, finding people, grabbing anyone you could see, chasing them?
Yes, this was for me the priority, always. So I immediately said when I arrived at Sky, obviously I had first couple of months, 2-3 months, just staying there inside to try and understand how did it work. For me, it was a dream to be around all the best journalists in Italy, so it was fantastic to learn from them. But then after some time, I noticed that maybe when you stay there, maybe 8-9 hours in a big company, you know that very well. I didn't want to be there long lunch. Let's have maybe 1 hour to talk about our friends, to talk about this, that. I wanted to focus about football, journalism, transfers. So I said, let me stay in the streets. No one wanted to be in the streets. All the journalists obviously wanted to be inside. It's more safe, it's more calm. You work 8 hours, then you go back home. When you are in the streets, you can work maybe 10, 12 hours. You never know what happens. Maybe you are waiting for someone to come out of an hotel. Maybe it's a player, and you don't know when he's coming out. Maybe you'll say, my 8 hours are done. I would never do that. Wait, could be 2 hours more. No problem. I need the news. I need to see that face. I need to have that interview. I know I was 19, 20. They didn't care about me. Obviously, a young guy, why should I talk to you? But if you're there every single day, and if you are respectful, and if you show them that you don't want just the big headline, you want to build a relationship, you can help them. You are still working for a big media like Sky, and so this was helping. All these factors will bring you to the final result.
You almost sound like Cristiano Ronaldo when I listen to him in interviews. No, really, in like the process of like the work ethic, no matter what, just doing anything to get the job, not punching in and punching out.
I think the obsession is absolutely the crucial point on this. And I really love this about Cristiano Ronaldo and all the people who work with this kind of obsession, because again, many people can say, you are very talented, you are very good at your job. For sure, you need to have that. But for me, the amount of time, the amount of hours you put into your job is the real game changer. I always say that. For myself, was like this, because you can be as good as you want, but there are many people who want to do the same, many good journalists, many people who can even be better than you. But for me, was not even something that I planned. You know, I was not like saying, I will not do that, I will only focus on football. For me, it was really only football. I love football, I love the game. I always had this passion for transfers. So for me, it was like Disneyland, even being in the street, cold, hot, I don't care, let me work.
Was your parents worried about you? Like your mom? I have an Italian mother. She'd be worried if I told her I was just running around the streets all day.
Yeah, look, my mother never really understood what I was doing, to be honest. She knew I was a journalist, but I wasn't giving too many details because I knew she's from the south, you know, from Napoli, very traditional mentality. And so my mother was kind of scared. Every time I say, today I'm going to do that, super scared the whole day. I say, don't worry, I'm not going to say anything. I'm a sports journalist, let me cook. So when I told her I'm going to leave Sky, she was like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? So she was really, really feeling the panic, but it was probably the best decision for me at that time.
You believed in yourself?
Yeah, I had this feeling. I remember this moment. Look, it was, I think, 2020 or 2021, probably 2020. You remember Harry Kane wanted to join Manchester City. He was really close to joining Manchester City. Then there was a big fight club to club with Tottenham. But I remember one afternoon, it was around 4 p.m., I was live on Sky. And I was talking about second division stuff, the transfers in second division, with maximum respect. I'm not saying I'm the guy who only wants to talk about Real Madrid, Barcelona, not at all. But I was doing that special stuff on second division, on Serie B. And while I was live, half an hour to explain all the transfers, the strategy of Parma and many other things, then I checked my phone after this stuff I was doing with Sky, and there were like 20 calls lost by a really important person involved in the Harry Kane deal. Wow. 20 calls.
Wow.
Then I open my phone, I see on Twitter, Daily Mail and all the others delivering headlines like Harry Kane tomorrow will not show up for training. And text the guy and I call him and he says, I tried to call you to give you the exclusive story about Harry not going to training tomorrow, but I had to wait 30 minutes, then the news had to come out, I gave to other people. In that moment I said, okay, I have to change this. I cannot lose this kind of news because I'm focusing on different stuff. It's not about second or first division, just I'm not focused on what should be the priority for me. And in that moment I understood and I said, okay, I have to leave this. So at the end of the transfer window, I said, thank you for everything. I had the possibility to go to other Italian media with big proposals, traditional newspapers, so I was really proud about that kind of proposals. but I didn't want to bring my knowledge that was thanks to Sky, because Sky built me. I didn't want to bring that knowledge to a direct competitor. So I said, let's do it by myself. Let's try to build my own stuff, my own network, and that's how I started.
Do you feel pressure to disconnect? Because even sometimes I'm annoyed at myself. I say, oh, I always have to be on. I got to pay attention. Do you disconnect?
I don't. To be honest, completely disconnect, I don't. There are some moments where, luckily, with my job, I can be wherever I want. So that's an important point. Of course, sometimes you have to be at the stadium. There is a big game. All people or football people are there, and so I have to be there. But 90% of the time, I can be wherever I want, and that's a big advantage because, okay, I have to work 20 hours, but I can be wherever I want, and that's very good. So when it's about disconnecting, that you say you turn off your phone, and today I'm not doing anything into work stuff, impossible. Never, because you never know what happens. You know, people say, it's about the transfer window. I remember there was a meme on Instagram and on X for a long time. On the 1st of September, people saying, now Fabrizio will disappear till January. That's not the case, because you never know what happens. Maybe there is a big news on a manager being fired, or maybe there is a club taking big decisions, contract extensions, many things to follow. And you can never know what happens, when that happens.
Okay, you said 20 hours. Surely that's an exaggeration.
Yeah, of course. During the window, it's 20.
During the transfer window?
Yeah, it can be 18, 19, 20. It depends on the days, it depends on the moments.
Wow.
But there are some moments when many things are happening at the same time. You have to be on point the whole day. Maybe you can sleep 4, 5, 6 hours, maximum 6. But it should be 4 or 6 or 5, let's say. Then now, with the transfer window closed, it's obviously more normal, more relaxing. But again, you never know. Sometimes big things can happen out of nowhere. I always say also, for example, you remember when Kylian Mbappé announced that he was going to leave Paris Saint-Germain on a free and not extending his contract? It was February, 20 of February, 2 years ago. So you could never predict that. You have to be on point. If you disconnect that day, what happens? The biggest transfer news of the last maybe 5 years happens in February.
The day before your birthday, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm the 22nd. I always remember.
Happy birthday for a few days ago.
There we go. For both of us. Do you have any hobbies? Like, do you find time to have hobbies? Do you play pickleball or paddle or anything?
I like playing, sometimes I play paddle with my friends. I play beach volley. I'm big fan. Big fan. I love playing beach volley.
So you're a good player then. It's tough.
Yeah, that's a sport I like. And then I follow a lot of football. For me, my hobby is football at the end of the day. So playing PlayStation, as you know, I like that because it helps me to disconnect. You will say, how is that disconnecting? Yes, still, for me it's important because it's doing something different with my friends.
Is your phone on right now? Is it on loud?
Yeah, it is.
Let's make sure
it is,
that you don't miss any big calls.
No,
I don't want to be
okay. It's okay. At the moment, it's okay.
Okay.
I will let you know.
You're watching Kickin It, presented by Modelo.
You mentioned a couple times traditional journalists, and I get confused too when somebody asks me, what are you? How do you explain yourself? Do you say, I'm just a traditional journalist? Is there some sort of new blend that you've come to?
Look, I see myself as a journalist, for sure, that's for sure. Also with some skills as content creator, because at the end of the day, I think the output is becoming as important as the news. So the news is always important, but I honestly think there are so many very good journalists and transfer journalists around the world that maybe when it's about the output, maybe because they are working with a very traditional media, that's not your case because CBS is one of the best places in the world. But in many other cases, maybe traditional newspapers, you know, around the world, they are very old style in this. And so maybe the impact of the news and the impact of the good job done by the journalist is not the same. And so for me, the output is really important. So when you ask to describe myself, I say a journalist because I'm working on the news, on my network, on contacts every single day. And that's pure journalism to me. Then on the other side, content creator also means that you need to put the news in the best way possible to make sure the news is going to be not just viral, but also accurate in terms of text, in terms of graphics, in terms of everything when it's about the big breaking news. And so I think it's 50-50 at this stage.
If there was a young 18-year-old Fabrizio Romano running around the streets of Milan right now, do you think you'd be doing anything different? Would you, I don't know, maybe streaming? Is there something different you would do? Only lean into Instagram, still follow the traditional route? What would it be?
I would try to learn Arabic.
Arabic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel that languages really changed my life without studying that. I never studied any language.
You never studied English?
I only studied German in my life, and I don't know one single word. Really, I can speak Spanish, English, Portuguese, Italian, but I never studied, never ever. So I started very late, and it was just trying to adapt to people who was talking to me. There's always this streets mentality that I think is really Napoli mentality, you know. And I'm really proud of that, because at the end, my city had a big impact in my life, and this is also part of this adapting to what's happening to your life. But if I would tell a young Fabrizio, would be study as many languages as possible, and especially Arabic, because I believe this could be part of the future.
I want to know about the Here We Go, because I mean, I've heard the saying a million times, but for some reason, I actually don't know where it began or how it started.
First of all, it's not Here We Go, and it's Here We Go. This is the correct pronunciation. No, sorry for this one.
Again.
Sorry for this one, but for me, this is really important. No, jokes aside, for me, I love that, you know, because it was out of nowhere. So I didn't plan for that. Many people ask me, but did you plan that maybe with an agency or maybe with a marketing team? Or not at all. I was just tweeting, as I always do, but at that time even more, about Manchester United. And then I said, okay, now it's done, finally it's completed. And I say, here we go, but was not here we go. It was like, here we go, finally, the story is over. And I see the reaction in the comments was crazy. Many people saying, can you say also for Liverpool, for Bayern, for Real Madrid, for Barcelona? I said, why not? So the following weeks I started trying also other transfers, and I had this feeling people maybe need to understand when the transfer is really reaching its final stages. Because maybe in journalism sometimes you can have your favorite newspaper, your favorite journalist, but there was not this feeling of, okay, now I can relax, the deal is 99% happening. And so I saw an opportunity there, but also I love that this was coming out of nowhere together with the people following me. So
natural, very natural. But it's also, there's a good lesson in there for anyone that's watching. It's reading your comments, that you could get a lot from the comment section.
I do.
You see what people respond to, and then you could create or add on and pour fuel to the fire.
To be completely honest with you, that was a different time. So I think it was easier to read comments because maybe 10 years ago was social media in general were a better place to be, you know, where you can read comments normally. That's something that maybe nowadays you can do maybe on Instagram. Sometimes on X is really toxic. So I avoid reading that. It all started on Twitter at the time, X. So I'm still very grateful to the platform, but nowadays in terms of comments, sometimes, you know, it's very aggressive, very toxic.
I felt the same way, especially with Twitter. And I started doing just post and ghost, where I post and I don't read. And sometimes it's not a good thing.
Me too as well. Now I'm doing the same.
But I see you respond to a lot of people. I was always surprised by it.
I only respond sometimes when I'm really upset.
Yeah, I could tell that you're...
Yeah. Recently what happened to me, there was a crazy story. I don't know if you saw about after what happened between Vinicius and Prestiani in Benfica, Real Madrid. Basically, there was a guy, to make it short, who had an account with my same name, Fabrizio, with my same profile picture, but replacing my face with Vinicius' face, and putting out racist stuff every single minute, not every single day, every single minute. Racist pictures, racist tweets, was really horrible. And so I couldn't wait on that one. I texted and said, I will send everything to X stuff, and I will make sure these accounts get closed. So get ready, because I will destroy you. That was my message, and I was really sad to see the reaction of many people saying, but that was humor, come on, why are you doing that? For me, it's the end of the world when I see this kind of stuff.
But I feel like you're also competitive too, and you want to clarify and make sure everything is true, and even go back at some people that have small pages or small accounts or are trolling you.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, and that's also very normal when you start to become big in anything you are doing in life, not just in football or in journalism, as soon as there is something small that is not going the right way, they immediately try to use that to kill you. And that's what, for example, happens to me during the transfer window. Sometimes I say something. I remember last summer I say that Manuel Akanji was about to leave Manchester City. Akanji comes out with a comment saying, I didn't know about that. And many people started doing, I saw many pages on Instagram saying, Fabrizio, say the fake news, that was false. Probably Manuel Akanji didn't know because Manchester City didn't tell him yet. At the end of the day, they sold him, but there was a negotiation with Galatasaray, and at the end of the day, he decided to go to Inter at the very end of the market. But it was reality. But for 10, 20 days, all over my Instagram was, you lied on Akanji, that was a fake news. So, I always try to respond because I want to make sure that people know what really happened, and I'm not going out and inventing stories on Manuel Akanji after 15 years working in football. I'm delivering what I know and what's the information. Then I'm not signing contracts. I'm always saying the same. Then at the end of the day, he still left Manchester City, but people try always to find a small detail to try to kill you. So sometimes I want to tell them what's the reality, then say what you want.
Okay, you went over that very quickly, and I'm just trying to grasp. You knew that a player was going to leave a team before the player himself knew that he was out.
But this can happen.
This happens?
I know it feels special, I know, to people outside this industry, but this happens. This happens because not all the players at the end are human beings, you know that. They're very different. You had the interviews with many of them. And you know that it's very, very different approaches. There are players who are calling their agents every single minute. What's going on? Which club's called? Who did you meet today? And there are players who are more relaxed and just say, call me at the very end of the negotiation. When you feel that something is really concrete, call me. Otherwise, leave me alone, let me work. I understand the feeling from the outside, but to me, it's not that special.
That was a very subtle flex, I would say. I want to talk about you and relationships as well, because I think you probably have incredible advice on how to build relationships and how you manage relationships and why integrity is so important. What is your advice when you're trying to build relationships, or what is your approach in general when you're trying to do that?
My advice is that remember that the football world, for example, is very big, but it's still very small. It's just few people who always talk to each other about the same people. So if you do something wrong, if you are disrespectful, if maybe you are sharing something fake on purpose or whatever, you are going to be out of this world in 5 minutes.
How do you do that? Do you tell them specifically? Whatever we say is off the record?
The reputation, it's very easy to build in football, in positive and in negative situations. That's why I say never be disrespectful. Even once could cost your, I'm not saying the whole career, but for a long time, this could be a big problem for yourself. Try to get a coffee together, try to build a relationship, try to build your network, and then you will have all the interviews you want, all the informations you want. But this is a genuine relationship, rather than having the journalist and the guy from the club is thinking, look, there is this guy, and now he's gonna annoy me. So this is what's gonna change the relationship between, I think, a journalist, especially when you are on transfers, and so you need a direct relationship. Otherwise, you are getting the news from the wrong people, or maybe you can't check the news in the best way possible.
So you're playing a long game. You're thinking years down the line. Not today's news, not today's headlines, but maybe 10 years from now, you're gonna get something incredible.
Always. For me, the Dybala story in this is the perfect example. It was January, I don't remember the year, but you probably remember when Paolo was doing fantastic at Palermo, was probably the best young player in Serie A, scoring goals every weekend, so fantastic. And in the rumors, it was Juventus, Milan, Inter, all the big clubs wanted him from England, so Dybala was the big topic. I was going around the city, as always, and it was January. So I met in the morning with the president of Palermo in a hotel. He was coming outside the hotel.
Zamparini?
Zamparini, yeah, legend.
He must be a character.
Yeah, no, he was a fantastic person, very, very kind. So always nice with me. And he comes outside of the hotel with the agent of Dybala. Pierpaolo Triulzi was the name. And he comes and says, I can tell you that we reached an agreement with Paolo for a new contract. So Paolo is staying with us long term. We are very happy. Let's do an interview. I said, okay, fantastic. Let's do the interview. We do the interview. He announces to Sky, Dybala is staying and all the rest. Perfect. It was around 11 in the morning. Before going home, I go check the usual hotel where Juventus are going. Let's see what happens. And I see Fabio Paratici entering the hotel. He was Juventus director at the time, with the same agent of Paulo Dybala. They are inside the hotel, they meet, they come out. I take the video when they were coming out without asking anything, just taking the video. And they tell me, what are you doing? Why are you doing the video? I'm saying, I'm doing my job. And they were like, but we're just talking about buying a house in Buenos Aires. I said, I'm from Napoli, Fabio, you can't make it with me.
You can't trick me.
No. I said, let's have a coffee if you want. And this video will never exist. I don't care about the news today, but I need the news at the right moment. Why? You can say, as a journalist, you have to publish that video. Maybe, but on my point of view, I prefer to have the news at the right time and especially not to upset Palermo. Imagine for Palermo president in the moment in the morning, you say the player is signing a new contract. And he did, but at the end he was already set to agree a new contract, also with Juventus in the summer. So on the same day, that was looking too bad for everyone involved, for Palermo, for the player, for Juventus. So from Juventus, I had this word like, we will inform you when this is actually going to happen. And that was the case. So I built a relationship there. Maybe I had the big scoop that night, but I prefer to wait a bit. And I still had the scoop to tell Dybala is going to Juventus. Maybe it was a few days later, a few weeks later, but at the right time to build a relationship with Dybala camp, with Juventus, and with Palermo. Here we go.
Here we go. That one wasn't good.
8 out of 10, I think.
8 out of 10? They say, oh, you know, agents try to use you, and how do you balance that? How do you balance those things?
Look, I'm now in a moment of my life where at the beginning of my career, when they were starting saying these kind of things, these kind of theories around, I was suffering a lot. I wanted to like go everywhere, tell people that is not true, show my phone, interview my friends, do whatever you want. I want to show that I didn't do anything bad. Now I'm in a moment of my life where I remember a sentence a president told me when they tried to accuse me of receiving money from agents and this kind of stuff. A president of a club told me, don't bring them on your ring. They want to come on your ring. Don't bring them. These people who are trying to take you down, let them talk. Then facts are going to prove you. Then this industry, and this is what I was saying before, is gonna kill you if you really do something wrong. But if you are behaving in a correct way and if you're not doing anything wrong, at the end, I always remember what my mother told me when I started this journey. I was 18, I left Napoli to come here alone. I didn't know anyone. My family is not a football family. They love football, but they are not into football industry. And she told me, remember that the most important part is when you go to sleep, you have to feel comfortable with yourself. That's it. People can talk. If you're doing good things in life, people will always talk. But if you go to sleep and you feel comfortable with yourself, that's the right way. And that's how I live it today.
And I could see how serious you take it. You take your job, and you always want to be right. And I love that, the fact about that. Do you have, I don't know, this is me thinking out loud. Do you have like a checks and balances in place where maybe if one person tells you, an agent tells you something, or a player tells you something, you're not going to post it until you hear from a few different places?
Look, on this, I think there is something you can't teach, which is instinct. Because I always say, you can get the best information out of someone, even a big source, even a big person into football, but always use your brain. Your brain is so important. You can't be someone who they send you a message or they send you an information, they call you, and you publish after 5 seconds just because someone is telling you, even if he's the biggest president, director, agent, or player. Always use your brain. I don't want to impact on the negotiation, because sometimes if you share the news too early, that's a problem. That's a big problem. You can really make the negotiation collapse. So that's something I don't want.
So how do you balance that if it's your friend?
It's complicated. To be honest, it's really complicated. Because you want to make everyone happy. Yourself as a journalist, the people following you, of course, you want to be first. As you said, I'm really obsessed with that. But at the same time, now with the years passing by, I'm really feeling like I prefer to wait a bit more, but to make sure I'm not going to have an impact in a negative way onto the negotiation, because this is still happening. For example, last summer, I remember Paquetá to Aston Villa. I think if I didn't tweet, Paquetá was an Aston Villa player now.
Wait, say that again?
I think if I didn't tweet, Paquetá was an Aston Villa player today. Yeah.
So what happened?
Happened that it was the final days of the transfer window. Very final days, was like final 2 days, something like that, 48 hours to go. And nothing, I had this information that Paquetá was really close to joining Aston Villa. Was not done, but was really, really close. Everything agreed with the player, the clubs were negotiating, was very advanced in terms of transfer fee, so everything was almost ready. And so I was waiting and waiting and waiting, like 24 hours waiting, because I didn't want to have an impact on the news. They were like, it's very sensitive, he's an important player for West Ham, so the owners could maybe decide something different if the news is coming out. Then the news comes out in England, in a soft way, like Aston Villa interested in Lucas Paquetá, and people, my sources told me, okay, now you can go. The news is already out. You can say that it's very close. I release, and after a few hours, West Ham owners, after they see the reaction from the fans in social media, they say, okay, we are not selling the player anymore. But you will say, now, as a journalist, I had the news 24 hours ago. I wait. I release the news after another media sharing in England, and they tell you, yes, but you are Fabrizio, they tell you. I say, yes, but I want to be a journalist. I don't want to be to suffer from my name. I can't pay the price of being a good journalist. But still is making an impact. And they were very calm with me. They were not creating any problem. They were saying, okay, this is football. We tried, we told you the reality. You shared the news after someone else, so you didn't create any problem. We are in fantastic relationship with these people. But still, to me, it's something I'm thinking, I created a problem to someone.
Wow.
And I don't want to do that. So I need to balance the timing. Even if the news is already out, I need to balance the timing in the best way possible.
Do you think that'll impact anyone from telling you news then? Like, will people be scared if it's too
No,
sensitive?
I don't think so.
No.
I think they will still tell me because they
Okay.
know if they tell me don't say anything, I will not say
Okay.
anything. And I always say to my sources, I prefer to know something and not to share because I can be prepared mentally.
Smart.
So
Smart.
I prepare my stuff, I prepare my graphics, for example, I can prepare everything, but I know what's going on. So in my mind, I have everything set.
Okay.
Then when it's happening, I will be ready.
Okay.
This is something I'm doing a lot, actually. Even, for example, with managers fired. Maybe I know, but I can't say because they are still negotiating the exit clauses. Like Maresca leaving Chelsea, I knew like 2-3 days before, but I couldn't say.
So we have to get to the guy that makes your Photoshop, your designs.
He's
the only
That
leak.
guy has all the information.
Amazing.
But he's one of my best friends.
There we go.
Yeah,
Smart.
so,
You kept it in the family.
Yeah, exactly.
I want you to explain a little the transfer market too, because I think people don't realize, they think it's like a video game, that there's no emotions, things don't go wrong.
Yeah.
I remember a long time ago, remember Freddie Guarin?
Of course.
I think he was in Juventus's HQ and then the deal fell through.
Exactly, yeah.
So how do
Guarin
you-
Vucinic was the swap deal.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think there was a fan's
Juventus.
reaction or...
Yeah, I was there actually for Sky Around the City at the time. It was my ages where I started going around the city everywhere, and the reaction from Inter fans was crazy, super aggressive against the deal, and so the deal collapsed. So these kind of things can happen, but the deal can collapse for many reasons. The fans reacting can collapse because maybe, for example, a recent example, Marc Guéhi to Liverpool. That was a done deal. I said here we go, and I would say here we go always for this kind of deals. Why? Because club to club agreed. Documents sent to each other. Player in London having a medical with Liverpool. Everything is done. Everything is set. Then the deal for Igor to Palace as replacement for Guéhi collapses. It's deadline day, so things can change in 5 minutes. You don't have the replacement. The president from Palace says, okay, we are not selling the player anymore. We lost the replacement. And Guéhi was having a medical at Liverpool and the deal didn't happen. And now Guéhi is at Manchester City. People can say, but you said here we go. Yes, but if you want here we go to be at the signing stage, that's too late. That can just call it official statement, not here we go.
Yeah.
You don't need a journalist anymore. Go on the website, wait for the official statement, and that's it. If you want to follow the process, you have to understand that the deal can collapse because of this, because of the fans, because of the family. Sometimes the wife of a player can say, I don't want to go to that city for any reason. Maybe for the kids, maybe for the school, maybe for personal reasons. Can happen. Or maybe it can be injury, or maybe it can be the medical. And the medical are failed, and so the here we go is no longer happening. But for me, the most important part is always to make sure people understand that I'm telling you the reality. If I'm telling you it's verbally agreed, it's verbally agreed. Then, unfortunately, I can't sign contracts.
Fair enough. That's a really good answer. I think you should clip this part and just respond it to people who say when the deal
You
fell
should
through.
clip, I will share that.
Okay, there we go. Well, we got a deal. I think you like stress. I think you do.
I do.
Because for
I
most
like
people,
the excitement.
they want to avoid all of that.
Yeah, but I like the excitement
Okay.
when you are in control. The problem for a journalist is that when you are not 100% aware of what's going on, but when you are aware, for example, for me, one of the stories I'm most proud of is Caicedo to Chelsea. Because all journalists were saying he was going to Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp does the press conference at 11 saying we are waiting for Caicedo for the medical. So in that case, was already very advanced. But I knew that Caicedo wanted to go only to Chelsea. And so despite Liverpool having the agreement with Brighton, I knew that Caicedo only wanted to go to Chelsea, so I didn't say that Caicedo was going to Liverpool, despite Jurgen Klopp doing a press conference and saying, okay, we wait the guy for the medical. And then after the press conference, 12, Caicedo sends a message to Klopp and says, sorry, boss, but I want to go to Chelsea. And when I shared that news, I remember an impact was unbelievable. People were like, I can't believe it. Jurgen Klopp just spoke and said, we wait for him for the medical. For me, it was special.
Yeah, I like that little chip on your shoulder too, where you can probably remember those.
Oh, that one was fantastic.
Which fan base is one of the most passionate that surprised you? Because I noticed when we started covering Serie A, Indonesia exploded for us. They had an incredible passion for Serie A. Which is one for you that you probably didn't know before?
You mean for a club or country?
Both.
Look, country Indonesia, I back you on this. Because I said Patrick Kluivert was going to be their manager. It was a few months ago. And the reaction on social media was something absolutely unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. When I got the news, I was like, okay, nice one. But it turned to be one of the best news in terms of output I've ever read in my life. Crazy reaction. So fantastic fans and incredible fan base, really. And in terms of clubs, I have to tell you, Manchester United is crazy. Manchester United, even after very difficult years, even if things are working, not working, going well, going bad, the amount of people you find traveling around the world who want to know things about Man United is absolutely, absolutely insane. Then I could mention many clubs, of course, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool, Arsenal, all these clubs. But Man United, for me, is special because for our generation is normal. We saw that Man United, that legendary Man United. But still, there are many young kids who didn't see Man United win anything in the last 10 years or something like that, and they're still obsessed with United in a crazy way all over the world. In the Middle East is unbelievable.
So since you say you study, you love to study players, is there anyone you're looking at with the World Cup coming up that you think maybe they could have a great World Cup, they could have a huge move? Is there anything on your radar already?
My instinct is telling me that Carlo Ancelotti, as an Italian, will do a fantastic job at Brazil. I'm sure. I think this is going to be a fantastic mix. For how he entered the Brazilian culture with the players are super excited to work with him. I think what's been really special about Argentina, personally, there are not so many national teams when players are actually really excited to travel and be together, even in small games. You know, sometimes it can be boring to travel in October, in March, in September. You want to be with your club, maybe for friendlies or not so important games. Argentinian players are always together. They love to be together. Brazil, with Carlo, I think are going on that direction. They want to be together. They start to build a group with legendary players, with young players coming. So my call is, I think Ancelotti will do a very good job at Brazil. He's already doing a very good job at Brazil. And my name is probably Estevao because I love this player. Now, he's adapting to English football, up and downs. It's absolutely normal. But the talent of this boy is special. And I love when I see talented players with professional mentality. It's difficult to find these kind of players.
Okay, we're done with the business end of things. I want to get to know you
Perfect.
a little bit better.
Let's do it.
CBS has a game in the mixer.
Amazing.
It's an amazing segment. We find out a lot of good information. It's more about you.
Okay, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Ready.
If you could come up with a different catchphrase other than "here we go," what would it be?
Probably the deal is happening. Something like that.
Doesn't have the same ring.
No,
to it.
huh?
No.
But it's more realistic.
Okay.
It's more realistic because happening doesn't mean it's happened. So, you know, will be realistic.
Okay, so
but
we
I know
can't
it's not that
replace-
exciting.
we can't replace it.
It's not
Okay.
that exciting.
Your first celebrity crush?
You mean into football? Or
No, not football. You as a person.
Celebrity crush as a person. But you mean as a person?
As Fabrizio, somebody that you used to see, I don't know, on TV, everybody had their first crush.
Because I have many, eh? Look, because as a big football fan, I have to mention a football player for sure. Look, for me, an absolute idol when I met him first I was shaking, Roberto Baggio.
Roberto Baggio.
Roberto Baggio was my phone screen for a long time. It was first Maradona and then Roberto Baggio. When I met Baggio first, I was like, can't believe it. I was shaking, really. I was a kid.
Okay, you went a different route with this, but I love it. I thought we were gonna get Sofia Vergara
for me,
or something.
For me, no. I don't even know any
Oh, really?
of this. No, for me, it's football.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. What did you buy with your first paycheck? Your real first paycheck?
I made sure my mother could go on holiday with her best friends.
Oh,
Yeah. I really wanted my mother to go on holiday with her best friends. Yeah.
that's pretty. That's a good one. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
So I can mention anyone.
Yes.
Jose Mourinho, for sure, because I had the big luck to meet him, but not with that much time, you know. So to spend a dinner together would be fantastic. Can I mention Maradona?
Of course.
Maradona for me is number one because it's part of my culture, it's part of my city. I'm really proud to be from Napoli, and I didn't see Maradona playing football, but Maradona has been part of my life in an incredible way. Again, was my screensaver before Baggio, was always mentioned by my father, my brother. So for me, Maradona has always been the reference. And then, you know, in Napoli, if you go in the streets, Maradona is everywhere. You can feel Maradona as he's still playing today. It's absolutely crazy. After the goals, you can hear now the Diego's name. It's crazy. So Maradona for sure. And then the final name I will tell you is Toni Kroos.
Really?
Because Toni Kroos, for me, has always been a big reference. To retire that young, because he's still young as a player. I mean, as a midfielder, he could play maybe 10 years more around the world. But to retire with the Champions League in your hands at Wembley, for me, your brain is completely different. So I absolutely love Toni Kroos. I loved him as a player, but as a person, what he did with this retirement decision, very smart for me, is on a different planet. So Toni Kroos.
What a table. I
Nice
wouldn't be
table,
able to- Yeah, not too bad. It would definitely be fun. A lot of good conversations there. If you could have any superpower for 24 hours, what would it be and what would you do?
For 24 hours would be to stop the football world, let me say. Yeah, to say, okay, today I can do whatever I want. I would go maybe on holiday, but just to make sure that on my phone nothing is happening. Because, you know, that's sometimes even when I'm dreaming transfer news, football news. Yeah.
You okay?
That's shocking. I'm not sure if I'm okay. Someone should tell me, but sometimes I'm really dreaming about that. Maybe
God.
during the transfer window, I go to sleep and I start dreaming something has happened. So it's kind of nightmare, eh?
You're the Ronaldo of the transfer market. I'm
So
saying
I will
it now.
stop the football world for sure.
Okay, a few more. What song are you embarrassed to admit that you love?
Good one. Maybe some Gigi D'Alessio song from Napoli.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Parlami delle cose dette mai. That one, I love it.
Go on.
But no one knows.
I like that. I like that. In the shower, you're blasting that.
Yeah.
What talent do you have that nobody knows about? What's your
Singing.
You're a good singer.
I'm a very good singer. If you bring me to karaoke, I'm better than on transfer news.
No way.
Yeah.
All right, so give us a little.
Next
a little
time,
bit more.
next time. Come on.
Come on,
No,
next
no,
time.
I already gave you with Gigi D'Alessio. It's
Do you
fine.
have a karaoke place in Milan?
No, I don't.
I'm here for 2 weeks.
No,
we
no.
could find
Ah,
one.
we can find. We can find.
We'll
You
do-
have my word, we will do it.
I love karaoke.
Yeah.
I love karaoke.
But I think we will find some.
Okay. Stay tuned for
You
that.
have my word.
What's the craziest or weirdest thing someone DM'd you?
There are so many things. But I can't mention the player, but I can tell you, for example, that's a nice one. I never said that one, I think. Last transfer window, one guy was sitting in the stands behind an English club director. I don't want to see the club, otherwise it's a problem. And he saw all the messages. So this guy was sending me photos from the stands with all the messages of the director, texting agents, texting everyone. And he was like, look, he's texting this agent. He's asking about this player. But every minute he was sending me a picture. And he was like, if you need the information, I can't use this. Stop, please, my friend. And he was like sending me everything. I was like, I'm cheating. I don't want to do that. That's not my job. But it was crazy. It was actually crazy. It was like being inside the director's phone.
That's incredible. And you didn't use it? No, you didn't use it?
No,
All right.
they didn't sign a single player.
Oh, they didn't?
In January, no. So it was good, yeah.
Fabrizio, thank you so much for being on Kickin' It.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And we're going to do karaoke this week.
Perfect.
I'm going to
I wait
see if
for
you're
you,
really
huh?
that good.
You will see. You will have the
find out.
exclusive footage. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Here
Thank
we
you,
go.
Fabrizio.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Kickin' It, brought to you by Modelo.